Thank you, Sarah. Right, so a guide to choosing the best social media channels for your business. The first thing to think about is to evaluate your social media strategy. So you really need to think about how many channels can you realistically take on and what budget you have. Do you have the time to consistently nurture and, let's say, engage with your audience, so that's your clients, on one or more channels? You really need to have a look at social media scheduling tools. That's adopting another bit of technology that will help you save time, or anybody else that's coming on board, in setting a time where you can schedule all your postings, your theme, your campaigns for up to a month, so that you're not on there constantly every single day creating content. And you really have to have a look at, do you have the right expertise and time to create the right content for these channels? There's no point having a Facebook account or having a page or having an Instagram page with no activity. It's not a good look. It's like having a shop on the high street and you've always got that closed sign facing outwards and you don't open those doors. It's just not a kind of a brand that you want to demonstrate to your customers. So whatever channels you choose, there has to really be dedicated activity, but it's not as scary as what it sounds if you schedule, right? They're the two big things that you need to consider. You've got to you really do need to look at your analytics. So if you have your website and looking at the Google Analytics that are plugged in at the back end of your website, which shows what your target audience engage with, that it shows you where they're coming from, whether they're actually themselves coming onto your website from another platform, and how you can drive engagement to boost your brand and your business. You don't have to be on every single channel. You just start either one by one, whatever you like I said, whatever you handle, or what you already have, and start to develop some activity and update. Make sure the information on your profile is up to date. Make sure all the links are working from your website onto your Facebook page. Not just a like and share button on your website, which I've seen on some small businesses. Ensure that either at the header or at the footer of your website, you can click on the Facebook icon or the Instagram icon or TikTok, and it goes directly to the correct page. And that way, it's likely that people will be using their phones, and as soon as they click on that, they will be able to, they won't have to log in. It will go straight to your Facebook page. And I say that they do recommend that on headers and footers, because if people are looking at a website and they're not familiar with, let's say, navigating the website or finding the button, if they see something that they're familiar with, which could be Facebook, they could be spending a lot of time on Facebook with family, and they think, oh, I like the way Facebook has everything set up, I'm more familiar with it. That's the likelihood of them going onto Facebook on your page is quite high, because they feel really, really comfortable. So they'll think, oh, I'll have a look at this business's information on Facebook because I like Facebook. So basically, you need to see. So not choosing every single channel, you do really have to investigate a little bit, do a little bit of research on what works for your customers in both what it is that your industry offers and also just what habits are out there with either perhaps the age group or the interest. You could also use, and if you don't have that information, let's say already on your page through Facebook Analytics or Google Analytics, you could deploy a survey. You could even send a survey out to your customers and say, could you please complete this? We'd like to keep it friendly, do whatever it is that however you want to represent yourself when you speak to them. and you can send them out just very simple questions to say, we'd really like to know where you want us to show you information, updates, the latest news that we have for you. So that's also a good way if you don't already have something. Can
I just stop there for a second, Susan, if you don't mind being put on the spot? Now that you've been sort of delving into the back end of your website more, have you got a better idea as to where your traffic is coming from?
Great question, Sarah.
I actually realised that I don't have Google Analytics on the back of my website.
Oh.
So I'm going to answer that question. And my SEO is, well, non-existent. So I was under the impression when I upgraded my website and spent $3,000 on it about 18 months ago that all that was done, but it wasn't. So I've got to get that sorted out.
Right. So one of the things that we said at the beginning of this was, at least by the time you finish with, you know, this series, you'll have a better idea about how to write a brief for those sorts of things. So I guess that's just one of those aspects, because you don't know what you don't know in terms of, you know, what to expect from any sort of service provider, really. Okay, so that's
and
good.
Susan, we were engaging at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and I bet it didn't take all weekend for you to find out that information that you didn't have. So it was quite a quick, oh gosh, I've got this wonderful website, like you said, and you've discovered, okay, you don't have Google Analytics plugged in at the back. So that was great. Did you have a good weekend after that? I hope you didn't spend too much time.
I shut the computer off and I don't do any work. I used to work 7 days a week, God knows what hours. I don't do that anymore. So yeah, all good.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So
Steve,
I think, had a comment. Oh, sorry. Go on, Renzo.
I'm also president of the Lithgow Small Arms Factory Museum. And we've had this website for many, many years, which has been pretty poor. So we've just gone out now to seek someone to actually come in and revise the website and all the various links. And obviously one of the deliverables is this Google Analytics platform that we need to have, because we've got so many people around the world and local. We don't know who they are in that sense. We don't know whether they're young, old, or whether they're firearms buffs or you know, or other things. So yeah, so I reckon that'll help us enormously once we get that sorted.
So you've engaged someone to do that?
We have. They live in the Blue Mountain somewhere, and they'll get that started for us probably early New Year, and then we'll go from there. But we'll write the content, we'll provide all that sort of stuff, but the person will be the sort of the techo behind the scene to make sure that sort of occurs.
Yeah.
That's great. That's perfect direction.
Steve, can I just see what Steve wanted to say?
Yes, Steve.
Antonella, it's still the same process where Google, you get a bit of code from Google and you plug it into the website, so you get, and it has an email address on it that it'll tell you what your analytics are each month for the month.
Yes, you can. You can, or you can just log into it as well. Yeah. So
I like the one where it sends it, because it brings it up on the screen. It gives you numbers on how many clicks and where and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to see if it was the same method.
Yep.
It's 2 lines of code. Thanks.
Okay, so you've got your website, you've got Google Analytics plugged into it, you've started to do some market surveys or some other research to know where your customers are coming from, and I guess significantly which platforms they're coming to and from. So next step, is it Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest,
LinkedIn? One? It's
run us through them.
Well, okay. Well, we can name them, which you just about did. You know, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, and a lot of other ones that we can keep going on. I think we've named the main ones.
YouTube.
Oh gosh, I forgot that one. That's not good. That's number one. That's actually number one. I think in my head, I say it so often that I just thought I'd said it. So you've got, and the other important thing is that for you to know that you know they exist, there's another little secret is determine where your competitors are living on social media. What platforms are they on? Because that will resonate. They will have done a part of that research for you. And you've really got to be up there with them, because otherwise you're not giving any consumer any choices. So you've got to be playing on the same field. Otherwise it's not really five-a-side. It's you're not having everybody in that industry on the same platform. And also the content, what do they want to see? What do they want to hear about? View on video, what information, what sort of content. You can also see that from your competitors by the way people are engaging. And then you've really got to look at what your goals are to then realize, to then understand whether you can achieve those goals on the particular platforms.
So you see a lot of people complaining that, this content shouldn't be on LinkedIn. This is more like Facebook, and save that for Twitter and whatever. So can we do a quick run through some of the key ones and just sort of identify what should be on that? Thinking back to Renzo's comment about the chamber expanding its activity, and particularly into the business awards and so forth. So for LinkedIn in particular, and I happen to think that every business should have some sort of LinkedIn profile.
I agree.
That's just me. But what should you have on that one?
Well, I agree. And look, LinkedIn is very much that high end. It can be seen as corporate. However, you don't have to have a corporate persona, but you are the expert in that area. So that's where it is. You are really giving that business knowledge. You're sharing the improvements. You're sharing information about where you're going and growing and sustainability and things that matter to consumers at a level that is just that higher level of community, because you're also engaging with other businesses that may want to engage with you as well. So Facebook is more a one to extremely many, because it definitely engages with the community as a whole. So if you think about the Lithgow pages, the community pages, and notice boards, that's probably the best way to describe it. When you're talking about, if you're not friends and family on Facebook and you're engaging with businesses on Facebook, you're looking at a picture where it is very much a notice board, and whether anyone needs some help. And then you've got marketplace where you are selling your items and locally. So that's a very local interaction. And your page should exist on there, because there'll always be something that you will be able to share with the community. LinkedIn is, as I said, not so much community. So that's the difference between those two. TikTok, a bit more fun. Twitter, I have to say that small businesses with Twitter, unless you're engaged in something that is monumentally I find Twitter a little bit more for politics and superstars. I think that's probably the best way to narrow it down. And
rugby aficionados, if you look at my Twitter.
There you go.
Farmer Twitter and rugby.
Oh, thank you. So you've got, and then where else? What are we talking about? YouTube. YouTube is fantastic for tutorials, how to do things, hacks, and a bit of fun with, you can transition videos into your TikTok fun, and you can still keep it quite business-like, but it could be a great little a snippet of a news story when it comes to a community presence on that social media platform. So there is a little bit of a difference. And I think the best learning is really focus on your business, what it is, your products, your services, and look at your competitors and just look at people's reaction. And I think that's really how you will determine because you'll always get different opinions, but you can determine by your competitors and where you're playing in that space. I mean, the main thing is to look at your goals on social media. So some of your goals could include things like brand awareness. You know, are you present enough online as you are offline? Are you giving the same message in both online and offline opportunities? Your goals could be customer service, you know, and knowledge base. You could be looking at diverting traffic from or to your website. That could be why you're also on social media, because there's more content or importance to what you've actually got on your website. Or perhaps you've done some good news things that you've got people sitting on your website, there's nothing new, and you know, divert them over to Facebook where you've got something that you can engage them with. You know, look at conversions. If you have an e-commerce site with your website, you can also have an e-commerce shop on Facebook. You can also connect a shop with Instagram. And then you've got community building. So these are some of the goals that you could consider. And everybody falls into some of those or all of those categories when you want to pick out some goals.
Can we just go back to YouTube for a minute? Because I know that last time we talked about the fact that there's just not, you know, it's hugely, phenomenally successful, but from my memory, Australian sort of businesses are just not leveraging YouTube as much as, well, they could. And yet it's again thinking about what Martin was talking about last time about sort of cementing your expertise and sort of showing that you're an expert. There is just so much potential with short videos about how you go about doing what you do. And sort of using that as both a sort of promotional tool and also just a the demonstration of your expertise.
Yeah, and I think, Sarah, I think that might just come down to time and knowledge and thinking, is it worth it or has it already been done before? So YouTube is great and everyone talks about it, and I think a lot of people assume that, oh, well, I don't need to spend time doing it because it's probably already there. So again, look at your competitors, see if realistically that is actually happening, because there's a lot of talk about YouTube because people have been able to monetize it. Now that does take a long time, and then you end up giving up your business and you just become a YouTuber because you can earn quite a bit of money, but it is not the easiest of things to do. And then when you engage with that, you've got so many ads going on, but it does start off very, very slow. And those people have been, a few years in the running. So I think it's a little bit of just changing people's ideas about the fact that it is so big and so successful and most widely used. So, I won't bother because I'm sure the information that I've got to share is already there, but go looking for it, really. I think that's just... No one's written, or I haven't read that anywhere. I just think that that's talking to small businesses in Australia. I feel that that's one of the reasons.
Yeah. There's another common mistake as well, I think, which is that businesses of all sizes have a YouTube channel and they just put things up on it. They'll put their latest TV ad or their latest product video or something, but without connecting to it, without anything else around it. So if you are going to put those sorts of things on YouTube, what are the things that you really should do in association with that to make it work best?
Yep, absolutely.
So what I've also heard people say, or you say today, is to look at what your competitors are doing. That's assuming that your competitors actually know what they're doing. Because most small businesses are in business because they reckon they can do things better than their competitors. So I sort of, the angle that I sort of gels with me as a small business person, but also with a corporate background, is the people that know best what they want are the customers, and your customers best because you deal with them every day. So if you look at where they hang out, where they listen to, what they do, then I think that's a good guide, rather than to, if you like, presage if is TikTok the way to go, or LinkedIn. You know, if your customers are young people who think cool stuff and they like the TikTok stuff, well, that's where you need to be. If they are professionals and they will not go near, you know, even Facebook is a bit uncouth, well, then you want to be in LinkedIn. If they're people who like to see things being done, and, you know, I'm thinking about Susan here, and, you know, do a little bit of a spiel, what you do, give a couple of case studies, go out in the field and, you know, this is safe, this is not safe, this is what we do here, we can help you, you know, a couple of minutes video. Wow, I can see, you know, what that could do for my business and for the work that I do. And whereas others, if you're selling widgets, then widgets, then basically YouTube, maybe not so much value. But, you know, use your knowledge as a small business person of your customers and the way they do business with you every day, and what their interests are, where they hang out, and go there.
Well
Very
said,
good
well said.
advice. Yeah, I would just add one thing, which is your customers aren't your only stakeholders, and I do know that for businesses of of varying size, they're not going to be able to recruit as well if they're not on LinkedIn as they might do if they were, because, you know, there's a credibility element as well. Sometimes those sorts of things are what people look at when they're making decisions around awarding tenders or grants or, you know, any sort of thing. They're using lots of touch points to get a picture of the business. And I think that a business that has a presence on LinkedIn, even just to claim that space and show that it's got some of that credibility, is better than not. It doesn't mean you have to operate there all the time, but I think you should have something there. For your customer engagement, absolutely, be where your customers are, but remember that your stakeholders include other, you know, people other than purely
exactly.
customers.
And remember that it's a forever changing area. So you really, you know, what's working this month or what works now in 6 months' time will be completely different. So you've really got to adapt.
Renzo?
Just a question. With all the social media we've spoken about now, and I think it was mentioned that you need to, you know, your resources, your time, you need to be able to sort of make sure that you've got the time to be able to go through and communicate. Is there any sort of data which sort of shows an average, you know, for a small business, if they are across those 2, 3, 4 or 5 channels, what does it take per week for someone to sort of be across that? Is there any sort of general view on that? Is it a few hours a week? Is it?
Look,
More than you've got, probably.
Yeah,
is the rule of thumb. More than you've got is the rule of thumb.
Yeah. So in other words, it is sort of time consuming in that sense.
It is, but as I was mentioning before, you've got scheduling tools as well, which means that once you become familiar with what your content is, you've got your strategy, you know exactly what it is that you're going in the direction on. If you've got a month full of campaigns that you need to advertise week on week or 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to be posting, you'd sit down, spend 2-3 hours, and you would book all those messages in, all those posts, all those photos. You do that in 2 or 3 hours of a Monday, and it could actually mean that you've done that for the whole month. So yeah, it is more time that you've got now. You have to find it, or you pay someone for it, and you get a budget so that you employ someone a few hours here and there. But again, it's at the very beginning, you will need to just kind of play with it yourself so that you know how long you'd actually need someone to do that for you, with shaving off a little bit of time here and there once you become more and more familiar with it.
It's really it's your marketing communication strategy. You know, the deciding where that actually is going to be put is the same as deciding whether you're going to advertise in the, you know, the local paper or billboard or something, but it's actually the content. And And maybe just a little recap on the way a lot of businesses do. They'll do 4 pillars of communication around, you know, product, people, place.
So a good way to start, and it's just to kick you off, is think of it in chunks. So if you do 25% of your product, if you post content, and it's 25% is talking about your actual product and having images. Another 25% could be talking about the growth and the goals of what it is that your business does. And it could be, like I mentioned before, something to do with sustainability. I mean, if we're talking about people who are living off grid and starting to provide ingredients and food and what have you to the community, and they're growing, so they might talk about the soil and the conditions of the soil and what impact floods have had and droughts had, etc. So there's a little bit of storytelling. Then another 25% could be looking at and discussing what customers are finding, their experiences, photos of exchanging when we can be face to face, those kind of photos, and you develop content from your customers. And then another 25% could be any changes, invitations, interactions. It gives you a little bit of direction. So you can have a bit of a strategy, and you may have more pillars than just the 4. So then you split it up so that you've got interesting content, you've got an interesting story, and it focuses you as a business to say, right, well, we're changing it up a bit. We're not boring, and this is how you stick to it. So very much marketing strategy.
And that context and that big picture is increasingly important to consumers as well, isn't it? Knowing the story behind the product, knowing the corporate social responsibility elements, if those are important in the industry.
That's right. Direction of where you're going. Also, and why would they just keep following you? It is a very much a following, and you want to keep the interest. So not only do you want people to only buy and you want it to convert, but you also want them to be there and be your audience when something else is changing and something's happening, because then that will lead into a conversion as well.
So in our last 10 minutes, we might just move to the follow-up from the search engine optimization work that we did on the last one. Martin's, and you can go back and have a look at it in the YouTube index as well if you weren't here for the last one. But our colleague Martin went through best examples of search engine optimization sort of on websites, and it was very eye-opening. It sort of, talking about stakeholders earlier, it was clear that for example, a recipe page which had vastly more information than just a recipe, there were 2 audiences. There was the person who wanted to get the recipe and go and cook the thing, and then there was also the SEO audience, where the more times that you could put demonstrate expertise and relevance and so forth, the higher you would rank, and therefore the more successful your website was. So are there any questions arising from that? For your own business, do you understand what direction you're taking now to optimize that SEO? Susan, how's that going for you?
I haven't actually done anything. I thought a lot about it, but I haven't actually done anything as such. It's on the list.
And from what we've talked about, there could be some sort of interesting, relevant, but slightly left of centre things around safety that you could sort of add to your collateral, so that you are seen as you differentiate your business a little bit in a very crowded space.
Yes, exactly.
Does anyone else have some questions around search engine optimization or around Martin's presentation from last time, or even just, you know, how to start on this vexed topic?
I went in and tried to set up some of those tools that were there. So the Google ones that I tried to get some reporting on, it knows where my website is, but it just doesn't get any data for some reason. I don't know what I've done wrong there. Yeah, it's sitting there saying it's collecting data, but it's not.
Oh, right. And you were in Google My Business and Google Console.
Yeah, I went into the Google. I'm already on Google My Business, and that's got some good metrics in there for me. But the one that I went into was the actual, the more technical Google support page. And what you do is you tell it your website name. It goes into mine's sponsored on GoDaddy. So it went in and it picked up the GoDaddy address and all that sort of stuff, which I had to verify. But yeah, for some reason, I'm just not getting any data back.
And there is, look, yeah, I wouldn't be able to resolve or have a look, of course, but Google Digital Garage is also a very good tool. So do keep hitting the help and the support and writing in the questions, because obviously there are always forums and people having the same issue. We're often not alone. It's other people will have experienced those problems. It just takes a little while sometimes to sort of see how those connections are all happening. So yeah, I've just put that in the chat. Google Digital Garage, they're all connected, but they've got a lot of good resources, and some explain them a little bit easier for you know, different people. So always good to keep on looking at the problems and trying to Google whatever it is that you're trying to troubleshoot. And also someone's asked, Kevin, did you ask about what video editing tools? I just looked at the chat. I could spend another half an hour on answering that question. It is, again, it's a changing area, because depending on your smartphone, you could have an app on it, but if you don't have the smartphone that's really producing the right quality of images or video, then the app is not going to be any use to you if you're going to be editing, and your connectivity also plays a part. So there are also YouTube videos on what the best editing tools are to create a YouTube video. So
I was recently had a Resilience New South Wales talk to me, and they did the whole thing using an iPhone 11.
Oh, and that's the thing. I would hate to say, well, use an iPhone and everybody needs to go out and get one. Not necessary now, because the quality that you get from Androids as well as iPhones is amazing. So it's just a case of what you feel comfortable. Some apps are fantastic, but you pay for them, and they're also free ones. But again, it depends on whether you're on the Apple Store or on the Play Store on smartphones, whether you find one app or the other. You know, Apple always they both will have access to different apps. You don't always get the same apps on the two devices.
I wonder if that's the topic for next time, Ant.
What YouTube editing tools?
Just editing video editing tools, and the some of the practicalities of how you get these lovely videos onto the YouTube and Instagram and other platforms in best way, or the tips for each one.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be the resident expert on that, because well, I love to do it, but of course, see, I don't even play with an iPhone. I play with an Android to start with.
Well, Antonella, you got 2
yes.
weeks to learn.
Yeah, I know.
I mentioned in the I mentioned in a chat to you, Antonella, I had a bit of a play, and I've been watching a few YouTube videos on this subject. And Adobe Rush, which is for mobile, whether it be Apple or Android or desktop. There's a free version. There's also a premium version. But the video I put in the chat is one that's a cook, a chef from Hawaii, and he just uses that on his phone. And it's got multi-layer, so it allows you to layer it up. So anyway.
Oh, that's good. Because I know Steve does a lot of videos, everybody, just letting you all know.
Steve might be delivering our...
Yeah, you might indeed.
Can you
how about next time?
Yeah, could we invite you to present?
Sorry,
Steve?
you must all be on mute.
I think we should get everybody hands up if we think Steve should
Steve does
share his
video editing
experiences.
next time.
Let's discuss.
Case study. Case study.
I can show you some previous ones if you like.
Good. Yep. That would be good.
And maybe as something also, because I'm hearing quite a few people having problems with, Kevin can't get the analytics to work and Susan's still thinking about it. We're all very busy sort of small business people. Maybe, obviously editing videos is a fabulous thing to do. And some of the finer points of SEO, and certainly what was shown last time was quite amazing, the job they done. But obviously, some of these people were trying to make a lot of money off their websites, not actually running a business. Well, that might be a business in itself. And so I'm wondering if there should be sort of a 101, sort of the simple stuff, because there's simpler tools, there's simpler ways of getting, analytics than Google Analytics, which is probably one of the more complicated tools. And it's just some of the simple stuff, because many, I think, around this virtual table are still grappling with the, with the start of things and how to get the simple stuff going. And SEO can be as simple as writing up nicely with the nice words and right words on your website what you do. That's probably one of the best SEOs. So because it can be a little bit daunting. That's certainly been my experience. And I'm getting a bit of a sense here that maybe those of us around the table here who are actually running business, who need some web presence, are thinking, oh, this all sounds very complicated. Before I actually go to edit my video, maybe I should just work out how I just put the text and into my website properly, or get an idea of who's actually visiting my site. So anyway,
thank you very much for that, Klaus, because basically you bowl them up and we'll hit them. The whole aspect of this, I guess that what this arose from is the fact that we have the Entrepreneurs Program running with Strengthening Business, which is for businesses of any size in a bushfire affected LGA, of course, which Lithgow is one. And so what we do is, we work one-on-one with businesses. In my area and in Steve's area, we work on the aspects of the business that they want to develop, or want to address, or want to pivot, or or just act as a business coach. It's not mandatory, but it's almost universal that the areas that the business owners want to develop expertise is in some form of digital, whether that's supply chain, marketing, any, manufacturing, automation, whatever. There's almost always a digital element, and that's where Antonella and her colleagues come in, because they work also directly with the business owner on a digital roadmap while I'm working on a business roadmap. So we actually integrate those things fairly significantly, and this is where the those more granular elements come into play. We don't do it, but we do kind of make recommendations and help them write briefs, or help them engage the right experts to build their website or develop their social media presence, or, financial expertise or legal expertise, whatever it is. So, we then help them outsource those needs to ideally local experts who are there ready to deliver that. but the subject matter experts don't have to sort of start from scratch. They're coming in with, okay, here's the brief. It's part of a integrated strategy, and it gives the the business owners a better handle on sort of where they're taking their businesses to. So this drop-in has been developed as a bit of an adjunct to the service that we provide to help businesses not only work out what they need, get one-on-one help to get where they need, but also interact with one another on platforms like these to just learn a bit more, ask a few questions, get a bit of a heads up as to what they might want to do next. So you're quite right, it's not comprehensive, but it's part of a multifaceted whole. So any question? And so Renzo, I've got a couple of chambers that I've worked with. So some of my colleagues, Steve, you're well into your chamber, aren't you, down there? Yeah, so
all 7 of them.
Definitely would be an idea to, to come onto the program. It's free, of course. Susan is one of our clients. Happy, I hope. who we're working with at the moment, and that's been a lot of fun. And Natalie, I see you there as well. Looking forward to doing a little bit more with you too.
If I could just mention on that, Sarah, if I could just
please do.
The previous 4 sessions cover a bit of the SEO detail, the channel, the Google My Business, which gives a bit of an overall understanding. So it's really like I did. I binged on it and I sent you an email on it, which was great. Just a bit. And who else binges on sessions from the Entrepreneurs Program? Well, we do, because I like to know what you're all learning and be watching. It's fantastic. I mean, you just spend 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and it'll just roll into one. It's like watching a mini series, but all at once. And it really is great content. Now, I'm not just saying that because I'm part of the Entrepreneurs Program, Strengthening Business, but these girls and Martin as well, and Sharon Lowe from the digital team, and Sarah are extremely knowledgeable as we are, because we deal with a multitude of businesses, small businesses, and chambers and other networks. So it's really refined, and you're just getting the cream of the crop. They say the cream floats to the top. Well, this is the pointy end of the exercise, is getting to know businesses, and then from that research is providing this, which was obviously very well needed in Lithgow. And it's proving, I think, a great content series that we really want to keep going. Well, the girls, I just drop in here. I'm from Bega, so I snuck in one of the side doors, and happy I've still got the key. Yeah. So anyway, thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Well, we've just got maybe time for a couple of questions, if we've got any. We'll work on the topic for next time and share that back around. If you want to get in touch with me about the program coming on board, then here are my details. We know how to use QR codes, everybody.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't find the unmute button quick enough to speak to you, Sarah. Sorry.
That's all right, no problem. We'll
But
chat offline.
I am looking forward to having a good chat with you, because I'm just new to the small business area, and I've just recently moved out of a shop and working now from home. So there's a few issues there that I wanted to talk to you about as well.
For sure, we'll do that one. And it's just on the program. The fact that the Australian Government Department of Industry has pivoted their Entrepreneurs Program, which usually has a threshold, a turnover threshold and a growth expectation, and they've pivoted it and made it 100% free and available to small business in these areas, I think is going to be a game changer for a lot of local economies. It really is. It's the injection of masses of, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of expertise straight into the arteries. So, definitely would be very keen to help every business that we can.
And as they say, it's a use it or lose it situation.
Mm.
That's true. So, any last questions before we go? No.
Yeah, thank you.
Purely organizational one. Are we meeting again next Monday?
2 weeks. They're every 2 weeks. So, yeah,
Uh-huh.
the 11th of October. And that'll
Okay.
be the last one for this series.
Is that
So-
Freedom Day?
Yeah, it is. That's right.
Oh, is it 11th? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can give it ample of promotion with the chamber of the Lithgow Chamber, because today was a little bit short notice, but anyway.
Yep. No, that'll be great. And of course, there's the YouTube link with all the past ones as well. So
That'd be
Rachel and
lovely.
I will also work on what's next, whether it's with the chamber or the council or a combination. Anything's possible.
Wonderful.
No.
Thank you.
You'll let us know.
So Sarah, in terms of those previous ones which I wasn't part of, I can access those somewhere?
Yeah, they're all. I'll send you the links. It's on my YouTube channel, so they're all available there.
Good.
If
Okay.
have you popped your? Oh, we've got your email address, haven't we? Somewhere.
Yes, and I'll be able to share those as well.
You'll let us
Yeah,
know when
thanks,
this
Rachel.
one's
Thanks,
updated
Rachel.
on the YouTube.
It'll be this afternoon. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks so
everyone.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everyone.
it.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.